guys, if you ever wanted to know how potatoes are planted, we're gonna show you how today.
So we start off right here in the cellar where we're loading a truck full of seed potatoes. So down here we have our scooper, our piler, and our truck. Now this pile is a pile of seed potatoes that we have previously cut. So they're just little chunks of seed, a little bigger than a golf ball, that have been cut so they can fit in the planter. They've been cut, treated, and they're ready to go, ready to be planted in the ground. So this is our scooper. So the scooper is just a big wedge with a belt on it. It just drives into the potatoes, scoops them up. As he scoops in, the potatoes just kind of avalanche down, which is always fun to watch. Come out the back onto this little expandable, which then travels up onto the piler and into the truck.
Now we're going to head out to the field and I'm going to show you how we load the planters and how the planters work and how we plant potatoes.
We have 3 planters. So we have this planter, there's one right there, and there's another one right out there in the field. So when they get over here ready to fill up, I'll show you how they fill up and kind of show you how the planters work. All right, so Christopher just pulled up here and then Trevor's right here. So we have these 2 planters that need to load. Trevor's loading his. So I'm gonna give you a walk around of Christopher's while Trevor's loading. Okay, so this is a potato planter. To start it off, we have fertilizer tanks on the tractor, and those are actually plumbed back to this one tank back here. We pump fertilizer down in right onto where the potatoes go. So the potatoes will drop right down here, and this is our fertilizer pump. So this is just a squeeze pump. They're really simple. It just comes right out of there, gravity feeds in, and then it's ground driven. So this chain hooked to the tire will spin this and it'll squeeze the fertilizer evenly to each row. So there's 12 hoses here, so there's 2 for each potato row. Each one of these planters will plant 6 rows. So we have 3 planters that each plant 6 rows. Now if we come down here, this is where all the action happens. So these are the cups. Now this planter is ran with air. So back here on the back, we have a fan. So there's actually 2 fans in there. There's a little fan that blows air and the big fan sucks air. So the suction fan will suck these pieces of potatoes onto those cups and hold them there. So it's just air sucking that piece of seed on there. So there's just a little hole at the end, and that little hole just holds them on there. Now as he revs it up, it will get a lot more suction. So this big yellow hose is the suction hose. Now this little white one is the blow-off hose. So as the seed spins around, this piece spins. As this spins, once the seed gets down there, it will switch from the suction hose to the blow-off hose, and it'll blow the seed off right onto the ground where we want it. And then the seed will fall. The seed falls off down there into a groove that is opened up by this piece on the front. Now these pieces on the front, it's just called a shoe. So there's a little tine right here, and then there's a big shoe that just V's it and opens it up. And that is how it makes a groove for that seed to fall in. So after the seed falls in, that's where the fertilizer is. So if we look under here, those hoses, that's dumping fertilizer right where the seed goes. Right after that, we have these discs. So each row has a set of discs. They're closing discs. So those closing discs, they close up the row like that. They close the dirt over top of it. And then we have the drag bar that levels it off, drags the peak off, makes a nice smooth hill. So you can then have rows like this. So you have these rows that are nice and flat on top, and you want your seed. We try to plant our potatoes so our potato seed is at 6 inches deep and we're going 13 inches apart. So if you want to know how we calibrate this for that spacing and everything, go watch our calibration video. It'll be linked down below. But Christopher is now loading, so I'll go show you how they load. Now there's multiple ways to load a potato planter. Lots of people do it differently. Some people use a piler and they just set up it behind a truck like this, and they'll use a piler to just load their trucks up. Some people have a loader with a really big wide bucket and they'll dump in. Some people have something that's called a crop cart, and the crop cart will just fill all the way up with potatoes, and then it'll come by and it'll just top them off. But for us, because crop carts are expensive and everything else is just a hassle, this is the easiest way. We just have a loader. He comes up to the truck and he gets a scoop of potatoes. Then he takes that scoop of potatoes and he comes back over to his planter and just dumps it in. Now it does take quite a few scoops to get everything full, but it does a good job. It doesn't take too long. And by doing it this way, as we move across the field with planting, we're able to just take the equipment and we just back the equipment up with them. That way the planters don't have to drive back and forth across the field. They can just go back and forth, and then they can stop when they're empty and just fill, because all the equipment just moves along the field with them. Now we have our fertilizer truck here to fill up our fertilizer tanks, because as the little tank up here gets empty, they have a pump that's right here that pumps these tanks up into this tank to refill it, because this is the only tank that goes over to that John Blue pump. These planters over here, our other two, are a little bit older. So instead of having the fan on the back, it has one fan on one side, one fan on the other side. But they're set up just the same. These ones are mounted to the tractor versus having a big hitch. This one actually steers itself from the back. These ones are just mounted directly to the tractor. But the suction hoses and the blow-off hoses and everything else is the same. So one more thing is down here, there's a big bin and there's electric eyes right there Now the electric eye looks down in the bin to see how full it is, and you only want it to be a little bit full. You want 1, maybe 2 layers of potatoes down there in the bottom, and then as those go away, the eye will tell this chain, which is hooked to the main bin, it will tell this little chain to put more potatoes in, and these chains will just turn a little bit, and they'll dump potatoes down into that bin, keeping that bin full. Because we don't want that bin to get empty, because you don't want misses, which right now there's no potato right here, so that would be a miss. But when it's revved up all the way and has all the suction, you don't get too many misses. And you don't really want doubles. And if you look right back in here, that one right there has a double. So there's two small pieces of seed that are sucked onto 1 cup. So with these planters, they're a little bit different than most potato planters, but they work really well. So with these planters, we're able to go between 4 and 5 miles an hour, and we can plant at like 90, this one at least is at 98% accuracy. These older ones have to go a little bit slower because the accuracy isn't quite as good. But this new one does an amazing job, that has really good accuracy. So once Christopher gets done loading, we're going to get and show you how these planters actually work when they're running. So right here on top of the planter, it actually has its own GPS unit. So that one piggybacks off of the one that's on the tractor to make sure that the planter, because this one steers itself, it makes sure that the planter is in the exact same line as the tractor. All right, Christopher is all loaded up, so we're gonna film him running. So I actually have another camera I'm gonna put down in here so you can see how this stuff works. Put a camera down in there, so now what you'll be able to see is when that blow-off hose comes around and blows the seed off into the ground. So now what you're seeing is a view from the back where the seed drops and then the closing discs close that seed up and bury it in the ground. Now let's climb in the tractor and I'll show you the inside and what all the display looks like. Alright guys, I'm here in the tractor now. You can see we have another planter right next to us planting. That's Trevor over there. And then this is the planter we were just outside looking at. So one difference is it's a lot quieter in here. These things, because they are run with air, when the PTO is spun up all the way, that fan whistles so loud and makes them so noisy. So that is one difference between the Lockwood air cut planter and every other planter, is that this one is really loud, but it's also very accurate. So from here you can see all 6 of the rows. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows, all the suction hoses, and you can see all the cup wheels turning. So from in the cab you get a good view of what everything's doing. Oh, you can also look, if you see really close right in here on all the sides, you can see the little chains dropping more seed into that bin. Like I was saying, the electric eyes tell you how full the little bin is. So from here you can see that everything's working. So if something all of a sudden stops working, Christopher can look and see what's not working. All right, so from in here we have a few different monitors. So this is the monitor for the planter.
Yep.
And you can see there's a lot of stuff on there. So what is that saying, Christopher?
So right now these are showing every row unit has a drop sensor. So 2 bars on each side. When a seed drops, right here it'll tell you the percentage. So 94, 97, 99%, 93, 97. It tells you that all the seeds are dropping by seed spacing, how many acres, seeds per acre, our mile per hour, acres per hour, how many feet we've gone on this row. It shows us a lot. You can also go to here, see each bowl unit, left and right on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can see that they're all moving. They got the little potatoes kind of turning on there. And I can adjust how full each bowl is on that. I mean, I got cameras that show behind us. All sorts of things.
Yep. So we're just getting to the end here. And the other monitor he has is this one down here. So this is his GPS monitor. So that tells where he's at, but it also tells where the planter's at. So that GPS receiver that's back on the planter right there hooks up with the one on the tractor and gives you a little line on the receiver, or on the screen over here. It gives you this line, and that's what everything follows. And when that's all at 0, then you know you're not right on line. All right, so we're both, Trevor and us, are both going to turn around here. This field is a little bit sandy, just on the end. You can kind of see a line right there where it's dark. Well, this is sand, and that's nice dirt over there. Just has a sandy little sandbar that runs through here. So we're going to get back online with the GPS, and then this thing will get back online too, and we'll put it in the ground. Now with this one, the steering in the back is a little slow, so he has to pull forward a little bit and then back up to the end of the field. The sand actually makes it really easy to plant potatoes because it's very easy to dig into the ground and put the seed in there. So now we're going. Everything's working. We're planting potatoes. Now if you like this video and you like farming videos and you like potatoes, make sure to go down below and hit subscribe, because we do lots of videos on potatoes and farming and all the in-between and the day-to-day, and we want to make sure you don't miss anything. All right, just got back here to the end. Christopher is getting all his filled up with fertilizer. He's got to fill these 2 yellow tanks up. And then Trevor, he's loading up his with more potatoes. Josh is down there at the other end. We have just over 1,000 acres to plant this year, and they're gonna get it done in about 7 days. So they're gonna get loaded up and going here. I'm gonna go get some really nice drone footage for you guys. So if you like this video, make sure to subscribe. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one.